Hey guys, it's Darwin here with another Q&A for you guys, my weekly Q&A series. Last week you guys sent me a lot of new questions, so I'm going to try to get to as many as I possibly can today. And then if you have any questions for next week, you can go ahead and leave them in the comment box below. Ask any question you want to about the things that we usually go over here on the channel, or you can send me a video question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com, a video of you asking me a question, and then next week I will feature that video in my Q&A and answer your question. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. How has your experiences in AT thru hiking led to / supported your progression of your nomadic life and upcoming life on the road in your vintage camper? So I think that whenever you do any type of long distance hiking or some sort of bike touring, or a big part of your life, 4 to 6 months where you're living out of nothing but a backpack on your back, whether that's European backpacking where you're going from country to country, whether it's hiking the AT, I think what it really teaches you is that you can live very simply. The other thing is, you spend 4 to 6 months every day sleeping in a different place, eating breakfast in a different place. So you kind of have this nomadic life and you get really used to it. And you get used to this comfort that every day you're going to see something different. So I think that's really what has led our lives in that direction of wanting to constantly travel, constantly see things and be, nomadic. And that's why we're moving into our vintage camper that we're redoing, is so that at any given time, we can travel and go somewhere else and see something different. So kind of once you set your life in that motion and find out that, owning a bunch of stuff and kind of holding on to this American dream of living this complicated life isn't as great, it really kind of opens up your mind. And I think that happens to a lot of people that go out and do things like thru hike the AT. It's not just us, it's a lot of people that, I hiked with in 2015 and 2016. They're kind of living more of a nomadic and traveling life. So it's kind of like once you cut that cord, it's really hard to go back. I'm 18 years old and starting the Appalachian Trail thru hike on the 29th. I was wondering, have you ever met anyone hiking that is around the same age as me? And if not, what was the most popular age group on the trail? So I don't really remember a whole lot of people that were 18. However, I did meet some much younger cats, a brother and sister that I think were about 16 or 17. Their parents were actually dropping them off at sections, and then they would hike about 4 to 5 days by themselves and then meet back up. But I think the average age of the AT is people kind of in their mid-20s. A lot of people that are like fresh out of college before they go and start that real world, or people that are right out of high school and about to go into college, which I guess that would be you at 18, but I don't remember a whole lot of people that were 18. Most of the people that I hiked with and that I remember were right there in their mid-20s, about 23, 25, kind of in there. Snuggles and I were in our late 20s. 29 is whenever we went out. So that's probably the average group. That being said, all walks of life, anywhere from a couple years ago, there was a kid, I think he was like 7 or 8 years old, named Buddy Backpacker, if you're familiar. He hiked the whole AT with his parents. So anywhere from a kid all the way up to, an older man or older woman. I met and ran into some people that were into their 70s and 80s out there hiking the trail. So, there's all different types of walks of life on the trail, but again, I would say the average age is probably the mid-20s. During your Arizona bike trip, you purchased a new tent from 6 Moons Designs. Would you talk about how well the tent worked out, things you liked about it, and things you did not? So I actually recently did a gear review on that tent before I took it out, so kind of a pre-review. I'll put the link up here if you kind of want to go check that video out. But I'm still kind of testing it. There's a couple things I don't like about it. And the tent that he's talking about is the 6 Moons Design Skyscape Trekker. While I was out on the Arizona trail, it was a really good tent. There were a couple nights where I had rain and I had a little bit of problems with leaking. The only other thing that I don't like about that tent is the bathtub. It comes up just a little bit, where I tend to like a little bit taller of a bathtub just in case there's a heavy downpour. Aside from that, I've been enjoying the tent. Next month, I'll be going to do a section hike on the Continental Divide Trail, a 10-day section, and I'll be taking that tent again. So after that, I'm gonna put together a post review where I've actually had some time using it, and then be able to do a little bit more of an honest review of what I think about it in the field. So keep an eye out for that. What's a decent bike for someone looking at getting into bike packing without breaking the bank? That's a great question. So, there's a lot of people that argue pretty much any bike that you have, you can strap bags on it and get into bike packing. If you're wanting kind of a bike packing specific bike and something that's really good for that, as most of you know, I'm a big Surly geek. So Surly recently released the new Karate Monkey, which is a 27.5 plus. That would be a phenomenal bike for a bike packing bike. But some other bikes you could look into are like the Big Kahuna by Kona or the Unit by Kona. The Unit and the Karate Monkey both are steel frames and they come single speed, but at the lowest price that you can get them, you can pretty much kind of do whatever you want to, but any bike that you set up is going to be great for bike packing. The best thing to do is just get everything together, get out there, get some experience, and then later on maybe think about getting a better rig. But for now, man, just get a bike, get whatever bike that you have. As long as you have something that can go off-road and that's comfortable to you, strap it down with some bags and get out there. I'm looking for an 11-pound gear list for a around the world bike packing tour. Can you help me? So I can help you. I'm really good at getting things dialed down, deciding what you need and what you don't need. I'd actually really like to hear about kind of the trip that you have planned, just because I'm kind of interested in there. But Snuggles and I have recently started a Fiverr account. If any of you are familiar with a website called Fiverr, it's actually where you do services for people. So Snuggles and I have started doing a couple services. I'll put the link up here, and then I'll also put the link in the description box below. So if you want to check that out, Snuggles and I are actually offering a service where we help do a pack shakedown or do custom setup on gear for any type of trip that you're doing. So go over and check that out, and I'd be more than happy to help, man. Do you have any thoughts concerning hammock camping versus tenting? I haven't really spent a whole lot of time hammocking. Hammocking is a great option. It's a good way to go lightweight, especially if you're going to be backpacking in the summer where you don't have to carry a big underquilt or a top quilt. I have done a little bit of hammocking, but not a whole lot to really base a hardcore opinion. I've kind of always been a tent guy, but I know a lot of people that have switched to hammock because it's a little more convenient, a little easier. There's obviously some sections that hammocks don't work. I'll be hiking the PCT next year starting in April, and pretty much for that first 700 miles in the desert, there's not really a lot of places that you can hang a hammock. There's not a lot of trees in the desert, so it kind of all depends on where you're planning on backpacking and camping. On most of the Appalachian Trail, there's tons of trees. I don't think there'd ever be a time where you wouldn't be able to hang a hammock, so it's all preference, but I haven't really had a chance to really get into hammocking yet. So maybe that's something I'll touch on in the future. I'd like to do hiker feeds and trail magic. I live in southeast Pennsylvania, so the closest section of the AT is in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. What's the best way to find out where the hiker bubble is? Great question, One Sock. So the best way to really find out where that hiker bubble is stay connected to Facebook. There's a group called Appalachian Trail Class of 2017. You can definitely check that out. I'll put a link up here, and I'll also put one in the description box below. But you can check that link out, add yourself to that group, and maybe ask around, find out where those guys are at. Or you can contact Miss Janet. Miss Janet is a really famous trail angel that usually follows the hiker bubble as it moves all the way up north for northbounders. So that would be another really good research. Or just contact the ATC. Again, I'll leave their website and contact information below. But pretty much every year it changes. The bubble usually kind of pops off right at the end of March and then into the beginning of April. So just kind of keep that in mind. Most of those cats are going to be starting at Springer at the end of March and then kind of moving, north. So definitely get a hold of those contacts and find out where that is. And that's awesome that you want to do some trail magic, man. All right, and then the last question that I'm gonna ask today is, I have two questions. If you had to settle down somewhere, where would it be? And have you ever been to Steamboat, Colorado? So yes, we have been to Steamboat Springs. Really cool place. Really cool place if you're into skiing or if you're into whitewater rafting. However, it is really, really expensive to live there unless you're in the outdoor industry and say you work for Big Agnes. So Big Agnes is actually out of Steamboat Springs. But cool place. We visited a couple times, but probably not someplace that I would live. And if I had to settle down somewhere, that's a hard one. You know, we've talked a lot about if we were to ever really stop and stay someplace for a long time, we'd probably want to be really close to the Blue Ridge Mountains. So, you know, really close there in Tennessee or Virginia, where the Smokies are, or the whole Blue Ridge. As you can see, I have the Blue Ridge here on my arm. I'm a big, big fan of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's kind of where my heart lies as a hiker. They were my favorite mountains kind of in the entire US. So probably somewhere around the Smoky Mountains. I absolutely love that place and really miss it. You know, being out here in the West, we have some bigger mountains out here and bigger ranges. However, nothing really beats those mountains out there. So if I did have to settle down somewhere, I think it would be next to the Smokies. All right, guys, so thanks for all the great questions this week. Again, I'll be doing another one next week, so you can leave some questions in the comment box below or send me a video question, a video of you asking me a question over to darwinonthetrail@yahoo.com. And then next week, I'll feature it in my Q&A video. If you haven't got a chance yet, go over and check me out on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of new photos of some of the things that Snuggles and I have going on throughout the week, and some photos of the renovation of our 1972 Lark travel trailer. So go check that out. Go ahead and like or dislike this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.